and Public Elections Committee, and we're glad that you're here. Today is August the 7th, 2018, and I detect a quorum, so we'll just go ahead and get started. We have only three boards that we will address today, and that's the Agricultural Extension. Thank you so much for the Gas, Mechanical Examiners and Appeals Board, and the Procurement Standards Board. So we'll just go ahead and get started with the reappointment of Mr. Bobby Edwards for a term expiring August the 1st of 2021. And if you would just be so kind as to come and take a seat.
Thank you.
Mr. Bobby Edwards, I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask you. First of all, are you a resident of Davidson County?
Yes, I am.
And you are a registered voter in Davidson County?
Of course.
Do you serve on any other boards or commissions within Davidson County?
No, but at the present time, except.
Okay, not at the present time. That's fine. Okay, at this time, I'd like for you to just tell me a few things about yourself, if you don't mind.
Where would you like for me to start?
Not at the beginning.
That's why I asked the question. Where would you like for me to start?
Just tell
That's why I
us.
asked the question. In general, just in general.
First of all, I want you to know that's a very legitimate question, okay? That's what I want you to know first. Tell us what you have found the most rewarding about the particular board and why you think that you were asked to be a part of it.
The most rewarding thing about the Ag Board is I got to meet a lot of people who are less fortunate than I am. I consider myself as not being fortunate, but, you know, you don't meet a lot of people or you don't socialize with a lot of people who are on the same level or who do the same thing as you do. I'm a prior school teacher, prior military, prior just about a lot of other things with the Masonic organization. You meet those kind of people. But when you can see on a daily basis that you can provide them with the food, the nourishment, help them with their families, direct them in the right direction, there's no better feeling than that. And if you do it on a daily basis, and they come back, and they tell their friends, and you give them good information. I don't mean just run them around the street and just give them information they cannot use, but information that's going to help them. And they come back to help you. That's a rewarding feeling.
Well, what I garner from that is you're very passionate about what you're doing, and that's what we need. As it relates to the public, we need people that are passionate, and obviously you're very passionate about it. I'd like to open it up to our committee members. Would you like? I mean, he's awesome, but do you have a question for him?
Move approval. Second. Seems great.
I mean, he is great. Let's see. Nobody has a question for this wonderful young man? You have just smitten everybody. And the answers.
After 41 years dealing with Uncle Sam, he goes like that sometimes.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I'm also a retired teacher, and my son-in-law, he's a colonel in the military, and I have a great affinity. I'm an associate minister in Clarksville, where most of our congregants are military people. So I'd like to thank you for your service on every level. It's well received, and we are appreciative. Okay? I got a motion? Could I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
No opposers? So the ayes have it. We thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Gas, Mechanical Examiners and Appeals Board, the reappointment of Mr. Mark Brandy for a term expiring August the 21st of 2022. And if you would come forward, also we have the reappointment of Mr. Jeff Zimmerly. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We need to give out our coupons, parking coupons.
Oh, could you? Okay. Okay.
Sleeping on the job.
You are so right. Thank you. Mr. Jeff Zimmerly for a term expiring August the 21st of 2022. Could you come forward, please? Thank you so much. This is the Gas Mechanical Examiners and Appeals Board. First of all, I'd like to ask, are you residents of Davidson County?
Yes.
Are you registered voters in Davidson County? Most definitely. Do you serve on any other boards or commissions here in Metro?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. So I have the same questions for you two, after which a couple of our committee members might have questions for you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, why you were chosen to be a part of this board, and what have you found the most rewarding?
Well, I guess I was chosen because I try to help the community, serve the community. Maybe some board problems, mechanical issues, code issues, stuff like that.
And what have you found the most rewarding?
Be here for the public.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I think they would just, using my experience of 38 years in the field, real-world experience, to draw on certain issues where there may be a fine line of what the rules say and what, real-world situations are out there, and it helps the people get the guidance they need to move forward with some of these issues.
That's good. I understand that. I really had to wash most of the dishes when I was little because I had more experience than my sister.
Right.
I didn't think that was quite fair, but that is really what happened. I get that. I don't know if that analogy
Not that you're holding a grudge. How many years later?
That's so funny because it is about 50 years later. But we thank you. Okay, a question. I had to do the Jim Shulman. Okay? I missed your jokes, Jim. I'm not quite as eloquent with mine.
I thought that was very well done,
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposers? Looks like the ayes
And
have
we've
it.
read over your information.
Oh,
We just
yeah.
got caught up over there in another committee about the bird.
So who's doing my job?
You are.
Oh, okay.
But we thank you all for your service.
Sorry, David.
You each get one of these.
I'm glad you're back, Jim.
There you go. Thank you.
Next, we have the reappointment of Mr. Don Harding for a term expiring July the 20th of 2021. Would you please come forward?
Sure. Thank you. Hello.
I was thinking his wife was being appointed because I was having to look there and I was like, wow.
She should be.
I thought they had the name wrong because I was looking at her and then I saw you come up. And it's like, okay.
Wow. Since you live in my district, I think you are a resident of Davidson County, right?
That's correct.
Are you a registered voter?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you serve on any other boards or commissions here at Metro?
I do not.
Okay. Tell us why you think you were initially asked to be a part of the Procurement Standards Board.
I think because I switched from Polo Cologne to a different cologne. That's what it did. No, I think,
Move to
Move to
approve.
approve.
you guys tell jokes like that. No, I think, I'm not really sure exactly, but I do enjoy working with the procurement staff, and they have a lot of great things going on. And I think if I could say that I'm passionate about it because I see the difference that they try to make, and some of our feedback, they take it seriously, and they try to implement a lot of things from a business person's perspective or from some of the other board members' perspective. So I see a lot of positivity in that department.
Thank you, Council
I was
Lady.
going to ask a question. I just came back from a conference, and that was our topic, was procurement and inclusion, minority inclusion in contracting. What are some of the things that your board, you talked about a few minutes ago, that some of the recommendations you've made they've implemented? Are you able to share any of those, one or two? Or?
Sure. I think one of the ways they were understanding that they kind of serve the different departments around the city, and they serve different functional departments. And oftentimes when those departments are putting in requests to buy stuff, sometimes they're not given the tools from their functional department of how to save money. And I think that how they were reporting savings were kind of miscued, but they kind of took it back and re-evaluated how they report savings. And I think that some of those things of how they do now is much more accurate than they've done before. But also, it's impressive to know that they keep track of payment when vendors are paid. You know, it's very important to small businesses, any business, cash flow. And they actually keep track of the days that, you know, payments are made. So if one department is falling out of line past 30 days average or it's lower than that, but they take heed of it and they make the corrections. So a lot of small businesses may not know that, but they give a good reason why to do business with the city.
Excellent. Question? Go ahead, Council Lady.
Well, thank you for serving this. I mean, this is a really, policy and enforcement. It seems like your board is not only making the policy, but try to make the, targeted, enforcement measurement. And I was so impressed reading with the minute with lots of data with minority participation and, disadvantaged business, and you have really data. So what will be the most challenging thing to enforce the policy?
That's somewhat of kind of an easy question because we talk about it all the time. Every few years there's a disparity study that's done to see where we are, and it's no secret that Metro, unlike many other places, are not spending money with minority and women-owned businesses as they should. And so once we get the disparity study fully reported or complete, then we know that there are challenges with legal things that we could do as far as putting really in real enforcement and penalty that would enforce a contractor or a vendor to make sure they're sharing the love when it comes to spends and money and opportunity. So the challenge would be, and hopefully, when the vote comes to pass, that this group, if you have the power, please pay attention to anything that can be done legally, because Metro's legal department obviously is there to protect the city and keep us from being sued and so forth. But in order to really cause participation, we have to make sure we're pushing the rules that we can to make it proper. So I would say that's going to be the most difficult thing.
One of the things I'm excited about with your reappointment is because you are part of the plan to also educate other subs and primes when we have all those conversations. So having you at the table because of the experiences that you've had over the years, you are a well-respected company in our city. You've gone through a lot of different hurdles to get where you are. And I think what value you add to this board is the fact that you're extremely knowledgeable and you can help educate others and bring them along as well. So I'm excited about your reappointment.
We think that's very important to do that. You don't get anywhere by yourself, but you also have to reach back. And we train a lot of young people all the time, and it's worth the investment to stop and take the time to teach youngsters. We have a lot of young people in the office. So, and my wife, who's our CFO, who doesn't get enough credit, she'll tell you that we train a lot of young people because they're gonna be the future. So we really believe in it. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, definitely. Oh, you go ahead, Councilman. Well,
I have one more question to ask
Sure.
before you do that.
Council Lady.
And I may can ask Michelle this later, but I was wondering, you mentioned every year that you're getting the disparity study. I wondered, are you as a board, what are y'all doing with that disparity study?
Well, so if I want to be clear, it doesn't come every year. It comes every several,
right,
whatever the city deems it's time to get another one. I think that we'll review it. We'll take the recommendations that Griffin and Strong might make and see where we can implement them. I think that we have to pay attention to that. They've done this before. They've been successful in other cities. And we have to not just take that document and put it on the shelf. We actually have to maybe go above and beyond implementing some of the things that they're going to point out. And largely is penalty and how we actually spend and how we, as an example, if a contractor gets a big project and they're supposed to have a goal of 25% or whatever. Then sometimes when they fall short, we just say, oh, okay, they didn't make it, and that's it. But I think that we should try to put teeth into enforcing penalty if they don't make it. Maybe they don't get to bid on more metro work, or maybe they share some of the fees that they didn't earn because they didn't share that, they didn't work hard enough to make those commitments that they said they were going to make with subs. So
I like that. I just wanted to second that.
I'm really proud of Mr. Don Harding, because I know when I was campaigning and I had a little survey, and what it entailed was who were the people in District 3 that were making the most difference in terms of just being positive influence in my district. And I was looking for 10 people just to see what that would render. And your name was on that list. And I remember wanting to know who, and at that point in time, I didn't know who you were. And I was like, when I set out to figure out what, I was at a meeting and there you were. And I think you said he's so highly regarded and respected, and I'm just very proud of that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I would love to at some point in time, because we all just came back from the conference, and the whole conference for 5 days was just about primarily procurement and participation, and we had people doing the disparity studies and what their commissions and committees are doing. I would love to have you come in and have a conversation, with us as well as Michelle, just to.
I was going to say, as long as I can have Michelle.
No, I think Michelle or whatever. But I think you bring you've been on that side, as Councilor Johnson said. You've been on the side. Oftentimes policy and somebody in practice kind of conflict with each other, because we can create policy all day long, but oftentimes when it comes to applying it to a person, it doesn't always come out the way it is, and sometimes we don't know all the barriers that exist. That we say we want this level of participation, but, we put this policy, we say we want 25%, but what I learned in our last effort to have local participation is some of the barriers that we have within policy, and even in, like you said, the legal community, that somewhat limits that. And I think it's good for us as people making policy to understand that really good, so that when we craft policy and we look at how we can include people, we can take those things in consideration. So,
Sure.
If I may. Sure. Just to add on to that, I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking something like that. It's easy when we're up here on Mondays and Tuesdays that the idea of participation at certain levels, the Cliff Notes takeaway is, oh, geez, we can't enforce that. And so we're just kind of stuck. And that's sort of like the top line understanding. But I think there's appetite for any piece of legislation that we can lawfully pass that would promote having better enforcement. And I think we all think all the actions at the administrative level, and there really isn't anything we can do from the legal level. And I think if you ever have today, some other day, like a practical, they ought to pass a law that, I think we'll do it.
Yeah, that sounds great. We'll definitely try to hold you guys to that. I think, we talk about on one side of it is, enforcing some law, creating a law, enforcing it, but Michelle and her staff, they understand that we're trying to get subs and vendors to be able to benefit from it, and sometimes they're frustrated to the point that they won't come to the table, but they have to know that folks are fighting for them. And me personally, and I'll try to wrap it up, but me personally, I was one who sought after more private work, because that's where I came from. When I saw how hard some council people work back when, Jerry Main and the others, how hard they work, and then there's nobody there's nobody come. They set the table, and there's nobody to come and eat the food that's prepared for them. Something that Michelle says all the time. So, it goes both ways. So if you guys have to know that the hard work that you do, you have to also encourage people that the benefits are there so they can take advantage of it.
Thank you.
All right.
This is good.
I'll second his motion.
Yeah, move for approval. All in favor? Aye. Any opposers? The ayes have it. We thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Do you want this, or you want me to give it to your wife?
No, I'm sorry.
Dr. Curl, so that's everyone in terms of this, okay? So we're going to move on to the resolutions. Okay, we're going to move on now. We're going to have our resolutions. Resolution 2018-1357, Ms. Van Rees and Shulman recognizes Don Diener for 22 years of dedicated service to the Metro government.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So next we have Resolution 2018-1358, and Shulman is the sponsor, and it recognizes Mr. Bill Garrett Jr. for his 20 years of outstanding service to the Metro government.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Next, we have Resolution 2018-1359, that's Wiener and Shulman. Recognizes David Smith for his 8 years of service as juvenile court clerk to the Metro government. Withers and Shulman.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Figure there.
Okay, next we have Kay Johnson, Virtue, and Lee. Recognizes LaQuinta R.
Makita Stribling.
LaQuita Stribling as District Governor 2018 through 19 for Rotary District 6760. Karen Johnson.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposers? Next, we have Resolution 2018-1361, Murphy M. Johnson and others recognizes and encourages the participation of women at all levels of government. Murphy, Johnson, and others.
So moved.
Second.
Women's caucus.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have a late file, and that's Rosenberg, Blaylock, and Henderson. A resolution providing amendments to the charter of the Metro in accordance with Article 19, Section 19.01 thereof, and setting forth a brief description of each amendment to be placed upon the ballot. Rosenberg.
It pains me greatly to offer a late filed amendment. It's just housekeeping. There's an incorrect reference to one of the sections in there. So that's all the amendment does.
Any questions?
What was it?
It references section 1501 of the charter instead of 502.
Well, you know what? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm fine with it.
I'm good. I was just kidding. I just thought,
Any other discussion?
And it's just a late, this is just coming as a late amendment,
Right.
so we don't have to
It's a late
approve it. We're just,
So it's,
we understand the reason.
right, no,
do I need to stand up and say anything?
I'd love to blame someone, but it was my
Okay.
fault.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yes, it
I
is.
learned to say that. I just had to say it. Okay, late file amendment to the second substitute, BL 2018-1202, Elrod. I just saw him. Could someone get Elrod?
No for Elrod.
An ordinance amending Title 12 of the Metro Code of Laws to regulate operators of systems of shared urban mobility devices.
I'm a no.
We need to work on our acronyms when you can.
Oh, late amendment?
Such as bicycles and scooters, and to establish a permitting system for same.
This amendment was defeated by the Public Works Committee.
You have a red pencil.
I'm going to vote no on that too.
Yeah, this late
Well,
file
we're not
amendment.
voting on it, are we? We're just saying, okay, you're not okay?
So,
Yeah, from a rules
But
point
if
of
we
view.
say the rule said no, that doesn't mean anything. It's
Right.
just
Just
whoever.
object to
yeah.
it.
Means that we would get up and object.
What does the amendment do, out of curiosity?
Limit the number of,
no. The limit, this one is increasing the speed limit from 15 to 20. Originally 20, the electric scooter,
Yeah.
and then the new amendment was reduced to 15, and then his late amendment is
Increasing it
back
to
to increasing to 20.
And people didn't feel that it was necessary to increase it from the national standards. So
Right.
15, everybody felt more safe with.
But he may not, for that,
Is he coming again?
lengthy discussion.
No, the amendment was voted down.
Right, so he may not go for it.
stay at 15.
Yeah.
Okay, at this time, if there's no other business or discussion,
I mean, but what are they gonna give them a ticket?
It's before 6 o'clock, let me just say, we're about to adjourn Rules Committee.
Congratulations,
Should
y'all.
we talk about changing the council rules, since we have an extra half hour?
no, we should not. I vote that down. Move to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. The ayes, any opposers? The ayes have it. Thank you.